Welcome to Abergavenny Baptist Church.
Life, faith, together.
The Good Shepherd and his sheep. John chapter 10, verses 1 to 10. Very truly, I tell you, Pharisees, anyone who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes ahead of them, and his sheep will follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. Jesus used this figure of speech, but the Pharisees did not understand what he was telling them. Therefore, Jesus said again, "Very truly, I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full."
Lovely to see you this morning. So those of you who are visiting, my name is Vicky and I am Mike's wife. And a few weeks ago, he was at camp and set me lots of reading to do. And I realized that actually there were two sermons in that reading, and this was the one that I had thought of initially. So this is the second in a two-part sermon. Now, if you were here for last week's sermon, you would have had your favorite version of "The Lord's my shepherd," with images of rolling green hills, a kindly-faced, gentle shepherd, absolutely ruined. And today, to add to this, I'm going to insult us all by suggesting that we are all stupid sheep. Bear with me. So last week we looked at the Good Shepherd, the amazing image of Jesus and God that is used throughout the Bible. And we looked at the characteristics of the shepherd. We learned that this good shepherd isn't like modern farmers. He certainly wasn't clean or gentle, definitely not gambling around in green fields type of guy. We learned that he was armed, weathered, wary, protective, but also protective where he would stop a sheep erring off by using a slingshot to send a warning stone right beside them to bring them back, or even catch them with his crook. And we learned that a shepherd was not like a distant CEO, but a shepherd would stink. Because at night, he would lie down, he would get to a cave or a collection of branches, bring the sheep in one by one, check them over, and then lie down as the door. He would literally lie down with the sheep, and nothing could get in or out except over his body. So the sheep would be completely safe, completely secure, and the sheep could trust him. We looked at who was the shepherd, what was he like, who isn't our shepherd, and why we can trust him. And this week, we're going to look at how we can have life to the full if we allow ourselves to be the sheep. We need to realize that we need this shepherd, and then we need to obey this shepherd comprehensively, existentially, and joyfully. And this leads to the fullest of lives. So our setting is Judea. This is scraggy, rough, and desert-like, where loads of things are wild. Wild horses, wild wolves, cats, wild dogs, but no wild sheep. Why? because sheep are too dim-witted to survive on their own. For example, if you let other animals go, things will happen. Either the animal will go wild, or the animal will come home, not sheep. They wander around aimlessly. You give a normal animal its freedom, what does it do? Aha! I am born free, the world is my oyster, free as the grass grows. If you let a sheep loose, what does it do? It says, where the heck am I? Where's my supper? You let a horse go without an owner, the horse goes wild without a shepherd. The sheep dies. A sheep has no sense of direction. In fact, a sheep can get caught on its back like a turtle, get stuck there and die, and actually needs turning over by someone. Sheep are too dim-witted to survive on their own. Now, I don't know about you, but this rings true for me, although it is hard to hear. If I admit, I basically believe that I'm a pretty good person. I'm capable, and I'm generally someone who makes good decisions, except in a pinch. And to be really honest, I don't want a shepherd. I would much prefer someone like a consultant, and someone who I can call on when I am in that pinch. Perhaps not even a top consultant who's going to ask those really probing questions and get to the heart of the issue. I would like someone who's starting out in the consulting business. Someone who is just going to ask a couple of questions about that area, right? I've made a mistake. Someone perhaps who I keep on a retainer. I control it, and they come when I ask. They just help with this little area over here on my terms. But a shepherd is completely different. Have we realized we need one? If we face facts, both about humanity and about ourselves, we don't have a great track record. I constantly make bad choices, whether that is over my own body and what I feed myself, and in all senses of that. What I look at, spend my time doing, focus upon, worry about, or the actions that I perform. How I shout at the children when, for example, Hannah pours melted Vaseline on her bedroom carpet. Or I get grumpy with Michael, or I join in bitching at work, or swear. And if I'm honest, I really like to compartmentalize. I like to have lots of bits of my life hidden from view. That's the Vicky at work. Tougher, professional, driven, capable. Or the fearful self, where I set the standards for myself far too high, and my anxiety comes out as snappy, stressful, shouty, unkind. And those are the bits I really don't want you to see. But my family do, and then my actions and my words come out of the mouths of my children back at me. So I really am inept. But I think I'm God. I'm kind of moral, I have standards, but actually I'm inept. And I make other things my shepherd, as if they will be enough. Mike, my family, my friends, none of them can help, and that's an impossible standard to set upon any human. They cannot be responsible for keeping me on track or stop me wandering off like a fool. Today, I think the first thing we need to do is realize that we all need this shepherd. And then, what does it mean to live moment by moment as if God is the shepherd rather than just a 'I suggest we need to do this. realize who the shepherd is, and that was last week's sermon. If we don't know the good shepherd, listen to last week's talk. And we need to realize we need this guidance. We need to obey him comprehensively, existentially, with our whole existence, and joyfully. And this will lead to the fullest life imaginable, one full of struggles, full of hardships, but also supernatural joy, complete freedom, and complete security. I am come that they might have life and have it to the full. Now, I realize I need this guidance. So let's look at the first one, comprehensively. A sheep cannot say to the shepherd, okay, you can help me over here, but not over here. This is my job. I can do this bit on my own. But we do this to God all the time. And it's completely ridiculous. Okay, God, I would really like help in this area, parenting, but not at my work. No, this area, hands off. We're treating God as a consultant. I need you here, but not over here. This is too shameful. This is where I feel powerful. This is all mine. I'll keep that bit to myself. Aren't there places like that? If so, we're denying the shepherdhood of God. In our conversations, in our friendships, in our families, in our online presence, are we hiding that bit from God? Treating him as the good shepherd, let him in. Are there areas like that where we have excluded him? And it's absolutely critical. We see the relationship of the sheep and the shepherd as one of comprehensive intimacy. There's no area from which he can be excluded. If he was only a king, if he was only a father, if he was only a judge or only a friend, if he was only a rock or a refuge or a warrior, as great as all of those things are, those kinds of people or persons have only got access to a part of our lives. But a shepherd can give you complete safety, complete protection, total security with his life, because he knows you in all of those areas. He is your judge, he is your father, he is your refuge and your rock. Let him in. Am I willing to obey everything I know God wants me to do in this area? Am I willing to obey God in the area that I hide? And secondly, am I willing to thank God for what he's going to do in that area that I hide? If we can't say yes to those, we're denying his shepherding, his guidance. Come back through the door. Get checked over by the good shepherd. Don't hide anything. He knew it already. Jesus said, I am the door of the sheep. We need to obey that verse in Proverbs. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct, he will shepherd your paths. As well as knowing him comprehensively, we need to obey him existentially with our existence, depend upon him moment by moment. Sheep know they have no strength. They need guidance. They know they constantly make mistakes. Where's my supper? Why am I lying on my back? I've wandered off. What am I doing? Help! Moment by moment, depend on him. And this will lead to a change in our lives. Keeping compartments where we don't want the shepherd to lead us will not lead to the fullness of life that we seek. We need to practice this comprehensive and existential trust all the time in all areas of our lives. And then this means that when dangers come, because they will, and all the way through our lives, when the dangers come, sheep that follow the Good Shepherd will not follow a stranger. They will run away because they do not know the voice of strangers. I am not going to follow money or success or my own anger or my own ambition or the world's ideas of family or my own self-worth. I'm not going to follow other voices, but the shepherd's. And what's the result? Joy. I think it's really important to acknowledge this isn't happiness. It's not happiness. It is not superficial. It is not without pain. It's not without anxiety. It is not without difficulty. Life is going to be hard. We are still in the desert of this world. This is not heaven. Heaven is not here yet. And so this life is going to be hard. But we can have joy and a life to the full. And then let's look at this third one. Obeying him joyfully. I know a lot of us struggle to obey God joyfully. We might well obey him grudgingly. Oh, go on then, God. Take that bit. And he's asking to be let into our lives and to stop us wandering off. And if we think of him as a king or a judge, we may well obey him grudgingly because we feel judged. Or if we know him as a father, perhaps we feel some guilt. But actually, as a shepherd, he will lead us. Not as a king or as a judge or as a father, but the shepherd who leads us through the rocks, through the desert of this life, the desert of this world, to green pastures. We need to think of him as a shepherd, and this is very important. I said we're sheep. This is the opposite of being worthless. At the beginning, if I said to you, we were the sheep, I can imagine a lot of people might have thought, ouch, Vicky, ouch. I'm a sheep. This is the opposite of being worthless. What Jesus here is saying, we need to understand the implications of in the Near East, in Judea. The shepherd's wealth was the sheep. His pride, his joy, his honor were in those sheep. They were actually the shepherd's glory, and everything he owned was those sheep. He's actually saying, you are my pride, my joy, and my glory. Did we forget that? Did you forget that even the bits you hide, you are still God's pride and joy and glory? In the Bible, there are so many stories about stupid sheep wandering off, and often sons and children and people wandering off. And every single time, you don't see the shepherd saying, you stupid idiot, how dare you do that? You're out. No, he says, that's my job. I came to find you. And his leading and his commands are expressions of his joy to, and his commitment to, and his joy over us. If the world gets in the way, the trials will come. We live in a world of stony ground, and this world is not as God intended, and we all know that. We feel it. We see it. He's calling us to live, to follow God, to let him in and build heaven here. you're being called to build heaven here. Plenty of us have so many other measures of our worth. The driving force of our lives should be that we are prized, we are treasured, we are worth searching for, we are worth dying for. I know I struggle with this. What is it that drives us? The engine that gets us up in the morning. The good sheep is someone who says, I know my shepherd loves me, adores me, and actually his honor is bound up in what I do. His joy is bound up in what I do. All the things he leads and commands with are expressions of his commitment to us and his joy over us. When we understand that, this will drive us. Comprehensive, existential, joyful. If he is our shepherd, that's how we treat him. And what does this give us? His life. A new life. I think sometimes from the outside, Christians, people think that Christianity is all about doing less, having the rules. Actually, it's saying, have a new life, a life to the full. Let me take you to good pasture. Help through deep waters. Love, utter love. Knowing you completely love and protection from the desert of our world. The shepherd lays down his life knowingly. I know my sheep. I know you. And actually it's saying he knows you all the way to the bottom. To the bits you hide. To the secretive behaviors that we don't want anyone to hear. He still looks at you, knows you, sees those bits and says, I lay down my life for you. Now when I was 12, I was confirmed in a village church in St. Monards. I was a Church of England. It was the ordinary thing we did in my area, and I had been to classes beforehand to prepare me. I felt ready, and I went through the confirmation service. And at this service, the Bishop of Hereford of the time spoke. And he spoke on John 10:10, and he did a sermon on the thief comes only to kill and steal and destroy, and I am come that they might have life and life to the full, more abundantly. And I lost my way through my early teen years, but I came back to faith, and I've held this verse incredibly close since. And this is why I actually did the reading while Michael was away. And then I lived in London, and after many years of commitment, I decided to really go for this fullness of life that I knew Christianity offered. And while I was in London, this is what I decided. You see, I had compartmentalized, and I still find myself doing that all the time. But it means that I continually come back to this fullness of life. Every part of my life, every day. And it means that when, not if, when the hardships come, I swear, I'm bitchy at work, I apologize, and I come back to God and I tell my colleagues that I am a Christian, and therefore I constantly make mistakes and need help. When I'm angry with the kids or with Mike, or I take my stresses out on them, which I do, I apologize to them and to God, and I come back to him. And this fullness of life gets me out of my comfort zone. This means that I have the fullness of life where I share simple lunches with everyone who I can possibly invite to my house. I'm sure most people in this building have at some point been asked for lunch, which is usually soup, bread, and cheese in my messy home. And the fullness of life constantly helps me to tell people I am a Christian. Mistake-making, utterly flawed, desperate for help in my life, Christian. And it means I play the piano very badly, as the worship team know, for worship songs and hymns. And it means we surf, and we ski, and we parent, and we work, and we argue. We laugh, we tread on Lego, which gets stuck in your feet. Tidy the house, all for God. But the fullness also means that I find I can have supernatural joy. Now, I think quite a few folk here know that a year and a half ago I had a ski accident. I was skiing down a slope that Michael and I knew really well, and the one that we used to instruct on when we used to live in Switzerland. The light was really bad, and there was a very thick mist. And there were people in the way on what we call a lip, where the slope gets a little bit steeper. And on a ski slope, you have to stop at the side for safety. And so there were some people in the middle, and I should have told them to move out of the way. I should have slowed down, stopped, and told them to move out of the way, but I didn't. I decided to ski around them, to the right. I was going really fast. And I didn't realize that I had come off the slope and onto something we call off-piste. And the last thing I remember was seeing a danger sign. And I fell, firstly onto a toboggan road about a meter below, and then off that edge some distance. And I landed on my back with my ski pole underneath me at about 35 kilometers an hour. And if I had not worn a helmet, I would not be here. I found out later that they had initially suspected that I had a broken back, pelvis, and femur. But miraculously, I had only broken my femur, but into 4 pieces. And the nature of the break meant that they worried that I had severed my femoral artery and that I would lose the leg. So before I went into surgery, I had to sign a waiver to say that they could amputate if needs be. And amazingly, they saved my leg in surgery. And I came round, and I had such a bad concussion that I couldn't see, and I had bruised ribs, and I felt broken, utterly broken. And when I was in the hospital after the operation, I was alone in Switzerland, and it was so bad that I wanted to die. It was so painful and so lonely, and everything I had had, even the ability to walk, had been taken away from me. My strength, my skiing, my walking, even my clear vision had been taken away. And I joined church on Zoom from my hospital bed, and I remember weeping. But I still decided to stand on joy. It wasn't happiness. I was not okay. I was absolutely broken, and I've never experienced loneliness like it. I couldn't remember any German because of my concussion, even though I'm pretty fluent. And I had to say goodbye to Michael and the children when they flew home. And then I flew home quite a bit later on my own. And I was in what my UK consultant said is the worst pain a human body can experience, a comminuted femur fracture into multiple pieces. But I still wanted the fullness because I had had it, and I knew how good it was. I suppose I had a moment when I realized that I was the one who the shepherd would come and get. That I was the lost sheep, the stupidest of the 100. And the shepherd would have a party about it. The shepherd who comes around and says, "Let's have a party. I've still got the stupid one." And I decided to still live for this fullest life. I chose joy when I could use a wheelchair in Morrison's. I chose joy when I could move my leg 3 centimeters to the left and right. I chose joy when I had the privilege of stepping out of my wheelchair with crutches. I chose joy when I was terrified of slipping in the shower. And it also gave me so much. I had empathy for people who are wheelchair users. It broke down my pride. And my physical fitness had always been a god to me. I appreciated the small things, and it was full of joy. There were moments of profound depression, profound anxiety, profound struggle, and pain, and consistent pain. from the accident and then later from the titanium, which had actually saved the leg. But I chose the fullness of life. I knew I'd been a sheep that had wandered off and made my own physique my God. I chose to let God into pain and frustration and anger and trauma and anxiety. I do not live a moral life. I do not have any strength. I just have joy. I have God's joy because I'm the sheep. And I know with this all-in fullness of life, this is so good, this life with God. That's everything. I give him everything every day. Comprehensive, for my existence, joyful. It doesn't matter how messed up you get. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter what you've hidden, what you've put as your God. No one can snatch you out of his hand. He loves you because he loves you. He's coming after you. No one can snatch you out. When are we going to relax? When are we going to rest in him? When are we going to realize he is that kind of God? I found the stupid one. Come on back. Every dark corner, every single area. And with this comes a full life. Life to the full. Happiness is a byproduct. It's a full life we should seek. Direction in our mess because we're inept. If we're honest, we need help. We're lost. We constantly make mistakes. We wander off. The fullness of life will follow if we let the Good Shepherd lead us. And finally, he died for me. He loves me. I am the lost sheep. I need a shepherd. Comprehensive, existential, joyful. And every day I choose, therefore, to stand on John 10:10. I'm not going to have my joy stolen away by the lies and the thieves of this desert world. I'm going to have life and have it to the full, guided by him, the Good Shepherd. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you that you are the Good Shepherd and that you come after us, knowing you found the stupid one. And thank you that we are not moral, we are not strong. And actually, by hiding bits of compartmentalized life away, we're denying ourselves this fullness of life. God, help us when we make other things our God. Our work, our friendships, everything else. That we try and make our shepherd, make our God. Father, help us today just to come back to you and say, sorry. Come on in. Take me again. Help me up. I pray that this morning we'd have a fresh realization of this as you take our lives and let us have this fullness of life. Life to the full. Amen.
Thank you for watching.
For more information, please visit our website, abergavenybaptist.co.uk.